believe that there's a lot of divine intervention. Yeah, there's no way we could do this job without help. It's too crazy. It's too dangerous. It's like insanely dangerous.
This is Touched by Heaven, everyday encounters with God. Those moments when heaven and earth collide and we see God. We see His hand reaching out to us, attempting to get our attention, inviting us into a closer relationship. Here we share stories of encounter with angels, divine intervention, prophetic dreams, visions, near-death experiences, big and little God incidents. I'm your host, Trapper Jack. Welcome. We would be at episode 110. What's it called? The Angels That Rescue Firefighters. The Angels That Rescue Firefighters, because they do. And you're going to hear a lot of stories in this episode from Danny Sheridan, a 30-plus year veteran of firefighting in New York City. This guy's got stories. I'm still getting emails from Danny saying, I forgot a story. Hey, you want to talk again? I got another story. So I think there's a good chance there'll be a part 2 to this story as well. And of course, it's all biblical. This is, as I always say, everything that was going on 2,000 years ago and before, still going on now. Jesus still sending His angels, still with divine intervention. Nothing has stopped. Angels are not living off the 401ks in Florida in the villages. They're just not. They are doing good work. Fellow servants. We are all fellow servants. So here are some great examples of how those good angels help these good firefighters do God's good work. Danny thinks he might have been searching within his podcast app for a podcast about angels, and we popped up. And now he listens, and usually at night, as he's, going to bed, as many of you do.
I use it for at night, just like when I'm ready to go to bed, I just turn it on and set the timer, and usually pass out after about 15 minutes.
Yeah, I'm famous for putting people to sleep.
It's not that, it's just...
Danny, you're getting very sleepy right now. You're getting very sleepy.
Yeah, that doesn't take much.
You assume you have an angel near you.
Yeah, he's around.
He's around.
She, whatever.
He, she, something.
Well, I think it might be a she, because one time, this was amazing. I mean, I get chills when I think about it. I was like, I did something very stupid. We were bouncing around the village, and probably we're just getting a little too crazy, And I don't know how I wound up doing this, but I started a fight with a gang, like 15 kids from another part of the city.
Against you?
Me and my friend.
Was alcohol involved?
Yeah.
Yeah, okay, just checking.
Of course.
So, alcohol may have been involved.
May have had a slight part in this.
So let's take on 15 guys. Good idea. Okay.
So I decided to take on the world. And I dragged my poor friend into. All of a sudden, we're in a fray, and I'm like, this is not going well. And I'm telling you, I still can't believe this happened. This black woman, she had to be about 6'5". She was enormous. She shows up, and between two parked cars, a taxi cab pulls up, and the door opens. She grabs me and my friend and throws us into the taxi cab, and the taxi cab takes off. And I was like, what was that? like, what the heck what was that all about? Yeah.
We just had an episode where there was a large black woman who was an angel. You hear that one?
I heard.
Yeah,
I heard that one.
Yeah. So
that's why I thought of it. I was like, oh man, that happened to me. Might be the same one.
It could be the same angel. Could have been the same angel.
Picked us up.
Yeah.
And my friend's a big guy too, and she just picked us up. She put her body in between us and the ruckus, the crowd, and flung us into the cab. Like, there was a cab on this random side street in the Greenwich Village, and she just slammed the door, and the cab took off, and that was it.
This actually begins for Danny. Well, you could actually say at age 3, he got a little taste of this. Divine help, angelic help, perhaps. Growing up in New York City, he's 3 years old. He has a younger sister. It's Halloween, so it's 1964, Halloween. Mom and Dad are going to go out to a party that night. Who's going to watch the kids?
And looks like, I guess, my mom and my grandmother were fighting. So my grandmother grabs my mother and says, listen, those kids are staying with me tonight, my mother's like, no, I already got it sorted, man. It's already, Diane's coming. And they went back and forth. And finally, my mother, I guess, caved in, and she says, okay, we lived on the 5th floor. My grandmother lived on the 3rd floor. So everyone was going to my friend's house for this party. My father came home from this party. I guess he probably was overserved, I would imagine. And next thing you know, there's a fire in our apartment. He's trapped in the kitchen. Everyone's screaming, like trying to bang on the door. The apartment's fully involved. And he goes out the window with the ladder, and everyone thought we were in there. Meanwhile, we were down with my grandmother. And I remember the next morning going up to the apartment, and like the whole thing was burnt out. And I remembered 20 years later when I got on the fire department, I remember that smell and the whole scene. So had we been in there, I'm sure he would have let the babysitter go home, and we probably would have been stuck in there.
Divine intervention. Perhaps an angel's help, huh? So you're a firefighter, or what are you?
A battalion chief in New York City.
Oh, you're a big guy in this thing. You've been doing this for a while.
A long time, yeah, 34 years.
Oh, that's good for you. Good for you. Are you chewing gum? Did you bring enough for the rest of the class?
No, I'm not chewing gum. I just had a piece of candy in my mouth.
See, I catch you on everything, pal.
Wow, you're very sensitive now. Hold on.
I just didn't want anybody, if there's always going to be a listener saying, hey, he didn't bring enough for the rest of the class. What's going on? What's going on? Well, very good. Okay, so you're writing a book or something. What are you up to?
My first book is called Parables from the Fireground, and it's just straight up stories from the fireground. But by default, I would say a third of them probably have some sort of intervention in there without even being specific about it. I mean, if you read through the lines, you'll realize that like some incredible things happen. Like Father Mike Judge was our chaplain, and he was a real dear friend of mine.
When did he pass away, or what happened there?
9/11.
Oh, really? Do you lose many guys that you knew?
Oh, did I lose? Yeah, I lost about 80 friends, I would say. 80 people that I work with, yeah.
80?
80, yeah.
Wow, devastating.
Yeah. And you could write a whole book on all the 9/11 stories. I could tell you right now, 2 separate battalions were both held up at a, I don't know, like a bridge or a tunnel, and they were waiting for one company, and that delay saved their lives.
Because the building was coming down soon, that kind of thing?
Yep. Had they gone when they were intending to go, they probably would have got there earlier, and they probably would have been involved in a collapse. And I know 2 battalions that were involved in that. So,
wow. And and I remember at the time too, how many stories did we hear like that? There were, I want to say only, 3,000 people or whatever it was in the building. I mean, those buildings could have been packed. There were so many stories of this guy was running late. This guy was supposed to be at a meeting. This guy was supposed, all these things, so.
Yeah.
And still but you lost 80. That's devastating.
I would say 80 guys that I knew that I either worked with or friends with, or probably 20 close people, and, just 80 to 90 that I just knew from working with.
Were you on that call? Did you go?
No, my company went, and we lost our lieutenant, and I was supposed to work that night. So.
Oh, so you were home or what?
Yeah, it was my wife's birthday on the 10th, and I stayed, we were home, but I wasn't scheduled to work. My groups were in the next day.
So, did you grow up with faith?
Yeah, I was an altar boy. I went to Catholic school for like 16 years.
Yeah. Well, a lot of us went to Catholic school, but it didn't really stick. Did it stick with you, or did you wander away for a while, come back? What was your story?
No, I would say I've probably been a soldier my whole 59 years on this planet.
So as a firefighter, you're talking about you're writing the book, and there's a book within a book here, and maybe another book about divine interventions, like we were mentioning earlier.
Yeah.
Talk about some of those. Have you had some of your own?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I put 3 of them in the book. There was one fire we had. Just like minor stuff. It was like a vacant factory down in the south end of the Bronx, and we responded. I was in a truck company, and we were forcing. It was all cinder blocked up. And then so me and my partner, we were banging away in the blocks, and anyway, we finally got them open, and the fire is like raging inside, and I see this drop off the roof, like through the roof, and I realized it was a fireman, and
You're
this
seeing a fireman fall where? From where to what?
through the roof in the factory.
Oh,
He
my.
went right through the roof and into this raging fire, right? And it was full of like machinery metal. It was all sorts of crazy like machines and sharp metal poles and whatnot. And there was a bed in the middle of all this, like this whole chaos. It was a bed, like there was homeless people living in there. So he falls right onto the bed, and then we go in to grab him, and he's all disheveled, and the only thing he burnt was his nose. And we took him out. He was fine. Like if he had landed 2 feet over, he would have been impaled on anything.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
How far did he fall?
20 feet, 30 feet maybe. Yeah.
Onto a bed.
Mm-hmm.
Gee.
Yeah.
More angels.
Yeah. Yeah. I believe it. And then there was another fire. I wasn't supposed to work. I had to do some work on my house, and I just did not want to be, I didn't want to be there. At work, I had to finish this job. So I don't know, I planned on doing this job, and my buddy was like, he needed me to work for him. And I was like, you know what? I can't work. I can't. I'm sorry. I want to get this. He says, please, he's begging me. I got to get this stuff done at home. And, so finally I gave in. I'm like, you know what? All right. I'll work. This story actually was in a book. Joan Weston Anderson was her name. Where Miracles Happen, I think is the name of the book.
Okay.
It was about 25, 30 years ago. So, anyways, I decide I worked, and I get to the firehouse, and, it's around noon, and, the bells go off, and we get a call for this building fire, and, we saddle up, we get on the rig, and for some reason, I don't know what possessed me to do this, but I pulled up my boots, I buckled up my coat, I had the tools sitting on my lap, and I was the position that I had was called the irons, right? So the irons is the guy that does the force entry and whatnot. So I was sitting on the opposite side of my officer and the other firefighter that carries the extinguisher, So we pull around the corner, and the fire is out every single window on the third floor. So I knew the building because we had been there just the previous set of tours. We had a fire in the same exact building, same exact, MO. So I don't know, they were trying to burn the building down, whatever. So we make the turn, and the chauffeur pulls up, and I'm on the side closest to the building. So I just, without thinking, I wasn't even thinking. I just jumped off the rig, and I started going into the building, and the rest of my team, I guess they wound up, the chief told them to do something, check something else or whatever, and I got separated from them. So, I go into the building, and the fire's on the third floor, and it's now, it's like right at the door, So I see the engine, and I tell the officer, I said, listen, man, I'm going above, and they're like, good, we got you. You're going above. So I go above, and,
How do you go above? What does that mean?
I mean, I went up the staircase above the fire,
Okay.
which is like the dangerous place in that kind of fire,
But you're on the outside of the building doing this?
Inside. No, inside.
You are inside. Okay.
Inside, yeah. So, yeah, I got to the door, and, it's like lights out, and I was just searching around, and I just heard this little whimper, like just nothing, like I can't even believe I heard it. And I go into the bedroom, and I find a crib, and I thought it was a doll. I reached in, and I don't know why I really thought it was just a doll. It was so small, I scooped up the doll, and then I think I realized it was a baby at some point. I'm not sure, because it was like crazy, like, it was just, couldn't see like the hand in front of your face, and it was just nuts, So I didn't have a radio. I'm separated. I thought my guys were with me, and they weren't with me. So I just bolted out the apartment, and I had to go back down the stairs, like going into the chimney, down the chimney. And I got to the street, and everyone was busy. I saw like a police car, and I handed off the baby, and they raced off to the hospital, and the baby lived. He was in a hospital for 2 weeks, intensive care. But the why I thought it was kind of strange was that I wasn't supposed to work, and if the person that was gonna work probably would have followed the other guys.
Yeah, you left everybody. You left.
Yeah, but I didn't do it on purpose. It was just
no, it's just whatever the nudge, whatever. Wow.
Yeah, I don't know. It was just something as soon as I got on the rig, it was just something was a gut feeling that I had to I don't know what it was. It's just I knew I had to be there. I knew I had to be on that floor above. And my team, we got separated. They wound up doing another job. And no, I know that if I had not worked and the guy that was going to worked, it probably would have turned out a little differently.
Yeah, that was a smoke-filled room, no lights, nothing.
Nothing, yeah.
Wow. When you got down there, how old did the baby look? Are we talking like months, just little months?
10 days old.
10 days?
Yeah.
Where was mom and dad?
So they had a babysitter. Their other kid got bit by a rat. So they were at the hospital and left this baby with this kid. And the kid, I guess, bolted out of the apartment. And, the kid was by himself.
What?
They left the kid by himself, 10 days old. So.
Yeah, we'll be right back.
Yeah.
And then a fire breaks out. Oh, my gosh. That would have been devastating Was it a babysitter or what did you say, older brother? What was it?
I don't know who they left because they couldn't speak English, So
okay.
We did I did my little broken Spanish at the time.
Yeah.
And I got that, she was, I was in the hospital and, my other kid just got bit by a rat and, we had to take him to the hospital and they left the baby with like a 12-year-old and I guess the kid panicked, left the baby home.
Oh, that would have been, can you imagine carrying that around for the rest of your life? If that did not turn, if you hadn't done what you had done and wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
You're just lucky. Whatever.
You really wonder, how angels do all this stuff because they're involved in so much of this. No, you know it. They're all over the highways. I mean, there should be so many more accidents than there are and fatalities than there are. And I just, or for a firefighter, I can't imagine how busy they are. As you do good work, they're going to be there helping you do good work.
See, I believe that. I believe that we're the hands, but I think there's a lot of divine intervention. There's no way we could do this job without help. It's too crazy. It's too dangerous. It's like insanely dangerous,
Yeah.
The biggest, I'm convinced to this day that this guy is an angel. I put this in my book, if you read between the lines, you have to realize there's some divine intervention in this story.
Yeah, well, you don't have to read between the lines when you tell us. You can just tell us as it is.
Yeah. I can't be that. We all can't be this good. I mean, God has to have his hand in it because there's no way that we could do these things. I wasn't scheduled to work Christmas Eve. I was actually scheduled to be off, but some of the senior guys took off, so they needed to hire somebody for overtime. So I didn't have any kids at the time. So I decided to, I stepped up to work Christmas Eve, but they were sending us what we call a detail, right? A detail comes from another firehouse and fills in an open spot. So the detail comes and, there's a black guy and his uniform looked like he stopped at the store and bought it and then showed up at the firehouse with this brand new spanking helmet and coat. It was like right out of the box.
And you guys kind of like your stuff all dinged up, right? You got some wear on it.
At the time we did, yeah. So anyway, so he was assigned my position, which was the, on the inside team in the truck company. And I'm stuck here with the chief, and he wanted to go. We do mass. It was a tradition. We did mass at one of the firehouses. So, we were going to go over, visit his firehouse, then go to this kind of midnight mass, at the firehouse, and then, have a big turkey dinner or whatever. So we go up, and then on the way back, I turn the corner, and down the block, I see this woman. She's doing jumping jacks. Like she's just, that's what they do. Like they just get frantic. She's jumping up and down. And as I get closer, she's pointing, right? She's pointing. And then we get closer now. And I look to the left, and a fire is in this 5-story tenement. And it's on the first floor. It's blowing out into the middle of the street. There's so much fire, right? The second engine comes up there on the floor above, and we got fire like on both sides in both apartments. I just happened to notice that this guy, he's standing in the street, with his tools, and he wasn't in the building. Yeah, he was outside, lost. And he had that look like the deer in the headlights kind of look,
Like, where am I supposed to be on this one?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Bottom line, you got a fireman standing out there in the road, kind of wondering where he's supposed to be.
So he's really he's still holding the can. Like there's enough fire, like a, the building is like almost fully involved. And he's got a little extinguisher just on his hand and his hook, So anyway, we all go to the back of the store. There's about 7 of us in the back of the store, right? And all of a sudden we hear this commotion at the front of the store, and it's this guy, and he's screaming. He's like, "We got fire!" He's like yelling, "We got fire, fire!" And like finally the lieutenant just like looked at the nozzle guy and he says, "Hey Jimmy, let's just see what this is all about." So we all went to the front of the store, 7 of us. And we get there, and there's like these little embers burning in the doorway. Just at that moment where we vacated the back of the store, the whole rear of the building collapsed, 5 stories. And the guy that was on the second floor, this guy had the nozzle, was hanging upside down in the cables. And, we were standing right there, not 2 minutes before. And, it was all because of him screaming. Now, I always think if I was working, there would have been no one screaming. I would have been inside pulling ceilings or whatever, So we all probably would have been right under that collapse.
You should have all died. And that guy who was hanging from the cable, how the heck did he live? What happened there?
I don't know how. It's amazing. I don't know how he survived, man.
What cables was he hanging from?
BX cables.
What does that mean?
Cables. Wiring. Romex, like
the wiring of the building, the wiring of so this 5-story thing comes tumbling down, and he gets caught up in the wiring, and it saves his life.
Hanging upside down.
Oh, man. At the front of the store was nowhere close to as bad as the back of the store, right?
No, I think that when we got back to the firehouse, I don't remember this guy being there. Like, he kind of disappeared. It's weird.
You don't know who he was. Bottom line is you don't know who he was.
I don't know. But I believe that if I had been working where I should have been working, it would have been crazy. We had a collapse a month before that. We had a same type of thing. It was the second fire of the night in this building, and I was up on the top floor, and the engine is in front of me, and my friend Billy, again, he says, "Hey, this don't feel right." And he grabs me, pulls me back. And then at the same time, the whole building fell down. The whole building collapsed into the back. And the nozzle went down into the basement. And then we wound up digging him out, and he lived. He survived. So
the stuff you've seen, my gosh.
The captain of that firehouse, he became chief. And, he's at a vacant building. And there was probably, I want to say, 3 engine companies, 3 hose lines, and 3 truck companies. And I want to say 30 guys in the building, And we have this, it's called SIDS. It's just like information about the building that's like on the response ticket. He calls his driver. He says, "Hey, Mike, whatever, what is there any SIDS on this building?" And he says, "I don't know, Chief." He says, "You have an address?" He says, "Hold on." He says, he gave him the address. He says, "Yeah, it's 500 Main Street, whatever it was, And then he says, "Hold on, Chief." And he calls the dispatcher. He says, "Hey, is there any SIDS for 500 Main Street?" And then 30 seconds later, he says, "Yeah, under no circumstances should anybody be in that building," right? So they're into this building now 10, 15 minutes, and the chief gets on the radio. "Everybody out of the building immediately." Now, everybody vacates the building, 30 guys. No sooner did the last guy leave, the building collapsed.
This happens over and over again, doesn't it?
It used to happen. This hasn't happened. This is like 30 years ago.
So obviously buildings are hopefully better now. Is that what you're saying?
Well, we used to have a lot of vacant buildings.
Yeah, yeah.
Well, they've been renovated.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so it's.
But you guys, when you guys sit around, and I imagine at times through the years, you talk to other firefighters of belief who go, that's not a coincidence that we just got out of that, right?
I would have to say. I mean, I remember one time crawling. I was in this vacant building. It wasn't really vacant. It was like kind of like they had squatters, like hipsters type people living in this building. Like they took it over, and they just did all these crazy alterations. And they put a hole in the floor, right, in the living room. Just in the middle of the living room, they just put a hole. And now we're at this fire. It's rocking and rolling. And I'm crawling around, and I don't know why. I just stopped. Just for some reason, I just stopped. And then I looked, and there it is. There's a big hole, like a hole in the floor, Like this stuff used to happen all the time.
And how far was the drop into the next room?
No, it was just the next floor down.
It's just a 10-foot, 11-foot, whatever.
Yeah.
I mean, would you tell your wife this stuff when it happened?
No. No, not really. No, this is a long time ago.
I understand.
This is like ancient history now.
Yeah. But still, I mean, these are the kinds of things you wouldn't tell your wife because, there were 30 of us and we ran out and just then the 5-story building collapsed or whatever. It's like,
I think we just took it for granted. I remember this guy. He kind of helped me straighten out my life a little bit. He was a good friend of mine. This guy Pete. We had gone to Medjugorje. We were going to go to Medjugorje together. I wound up going because he died in a fire. But right before he died, he stayed at my house. He came up to where I live, and so he's in his back bedroom. And I remember getting up in the middle of the night, and I opened. I guess his door was open, and I can't describe what I saw. It was like this light that I can't describe. It was so white. It was almost like silver. Like it was like it just filled the whole room. Like it was just like he was in there sleeping, bathed in this like crazy white light. You know what I mean? And he died like soon after.
In a fire.
Yeah. Yeah.
What a sign for you though. I mean that was almost like for you in a way. I mean it's for him, but it's for you to let you know that he's okay.
Well, it's before he died though.
I know, but the point being is that it's like an early sign that God's got him. I mean, he's wow, that's amazing.
Yeah.
How cool is that?
So many, you know what? I mean, if you think about your life, if you really, analyze things that happen, you have to say that there's some kind of someone's directing the show. It's not me.
Yeah.
Oh,
like this one time. Yeah, me too. A microphone fell on my foot. I could have been killed.
Dangerous job.
Don't get me started. Boy, I tell you, it's horrible. Just, yeah. You mentioned that you went to Medjugorje. Anything happened there?
Yeah, that was kind of weird too, man. I saw this thing that I just can't even describe. I was walking with this woman. We were walking from the hill or something where we were going. I look up, and there's this like gold orb. I don't know how to describe it because I thought it was a helicopter. I'm like, oh, that's kind of strange. Why is that I know it wasn't a plane. I'm like, that's really strange. Like, there's a helicopter here at like 11 o'clock at night, whatever, I didn't pay any mind to it. And about a minute later, I look up, and it's like, it just stopped. Like, just stopped. It wasn't moving anymore. It was just like right over us. And I don't know. It was just I thought it was a helicopter. I just assumed it was a helicopter because what else could it be? But it was like this goldish, I don't know how to describe it. It was just like a big spherical I don't know. It was bright. You know what I mean? Like I don't even know what it was. It was just moving, and then it just stopped. It was like on top of us, and then it just stopped.
Was it like a light? Was it more of a light than a?
I guess, yeah. I guess I could describe it if I had to put like call it something. I'd have to say I guess it was a light. You know.
But golden? You say golden?
It was gold. That I could tell you. I know it was gold. Just stopped. Like dead stop.
And you looked up, and then what?
Yeah.
Which leaves first? You leave or did it leave?
I think I thought I don't know what it was. I was so confused. I just kept, all right, Medjugorje, you know, I just kept going. You know?
This is stuff. Yeah. Isn't that the truth? Well, just another day in Medjugorje. Okay.
It was like the place is like charged, like full of electricity. You know.
Yeah, I think that's true. I think that's very true. Yeah.
I like Medjugorje. I did it, done that. You know, I got the T-shirt, but I still like. This September my wife and I went to the Holy Land. We took a Middle East trip, you know, and I got to go to mass inside the Christ tomb.
Nice. Church of the Resurrection. Yeah. Is that where you guys were?
No, the
actually went inside the Holy Sepulchre.
His tomb.
Wow.
Yeah, what happened was our guide. He's like, because there was 1 million people there, and he says, if you come back tomorrow morning at 5 o'clock in the morning, there'll be no one here. So I said, I'm in. I got up at like 4:30. I was just happy I would have just been happy to touch it. Like I just want to go just touch it. Say I just touched the tomb, you know. This brother, a priest, a Franciscan, I'm standing like right at the door and I'm with this other guy, Terry. And like the priest grabs me and he pushes me and he says, "Are you here for the mass?" I'm like, yeah, I guess. So I go in and my friend, he's not even Catholic. He's just going along for the ride, you know. And I'm listening to the priest. He's an Irish priest. That's an experience.
Describe how big that tomb is that you can have a mass inside there.
It's like a little dome, right? So maybe 7 people fit in the anteroom, you know. And then there's like an entranceway that's only like 5 feet. You had to duck to go through it. And then there's this big table. Stone table, I guess, or you know, and serves as like the altar, and only I think 3 or 4 people could fit in there. So really, in the whole place, only like 10 people could fit, you know, in the whole tomb.
The altar then was where Christ's body was laid out. Is that the?
Yeah. Yep. I would say. Yep.
Wow.
Yep. Incredible.
Are you familiar with the miracle of the Holy Fire?
You know, I heard you talking about that.
Greatest story never told. I don't get it. It's just the greatest sign of the resurrection, you know. You know, you mentioned how you've been a, Christian soldier your whole life. Is just, and I kind of get a sense that it's just kind of part of your fabric. You know, you tell these stories and they help fortify all of our faiths. They remind us about angels and divine intervention and God is with us and all those kinds of things. And I don't know, are you the kind of guy that sits down and talks faith with people, or do you pretty much just let life take care of itself?
You know, I'm not one of those preachy guys. I try to like kind of try to walk the walk a little bit. But if it comes up, if it's appropriate, I'll talk about it. But I don't know. I just don't go out of my way like preaching it, like, you know.
Now what are you doing? Now it's not candy in your mouth. What are you playing with now, Danny?
Oh, the fire's crackling. I'm sitting here by the fireplace.
Oh, you moved to the fireplace. Wow.
Well, I have a fire pit outside, so I meditate out here with the fire.
Oh, you're outside. Okay, I got you.
But I was blessed in a sense that I grew up in a very, very. The church was the focal point of the neighborhood. It was a small. Picture New York City as a gigantic place, yet it could be a small town because we were surrounded by some kind of borders that made us unique. You know, we were just kind of small and very, very close, and everybody knew each other. And everything revolved around the church. I was an altar boy. I went to Catholic school, Catholic high school, Catholic college. I just remember being an altar boy and just looking at that Eucharist and saying to myself, that's Christ. Like I read somewhere once, I don't know where I read it, but they said every time that host is elevated, there's 1 million angels just worshiping that one Eucharist, you know? And I was just firmly, I would look at that Eucharist and believe like that is Jesus Christ in that bread right there, you know. So I think I sent you a link to that video of the Eucharistic miracles, you know.
Oh, I love those. Yeah, I love it.
So anyway, my priest friend, we were talking. He says, "Did you hear the story about the Pope? He changed his plans. He was in some city, I forget, Philadelphia, whatever it was. And anyway, it upset the Secret Service now because they have to, they have to change all their security plans and they have to vet everything. So he wanted to stop in this church, and I don't think I'm telling secrets out of school. It's not publicized, but anyway, they sent in these dogs, these dogs that sniff out people, like people hiding out and whatnot.
Oh, I see.
But anyway, he said that when the dogs got to the tabernacle, they started going crazy, like there was a human in there.
Is that a true story? Is that a true story?
It's a true story. Yeah, I heard from a priest. Yeah,
I haven't heard that. That's great.
I'm not a thumper, but I try to find the balance. I mean, I think sometimes God presents opportunities, and when they're presented, I take advantage of them. I'm really listening. I don't want to get too. I'm taking it like just a little at a time. I'm learning a lot, actually, just listening to some of your podcasts. They're very educational. You do your homework, I have to tell you.
These kinds of stories are what awakened me to understand that and it's not the awakening that's the relationship, it's the awakening that leads to the relationship. So as people hear these stories, the idea being is either fortifies you, awakens you, or it's just part of the encounter process to make it real. It just needs to be real. And you're living it. You really are. You're living it. Just quietly going about your business and not so quietly saving lives and having angels save your life. And
please. He's been very busy. He's going to be exhausted by the time I finish this ride. He's going to be like, I want battle pay or... Man, we've been on some ride together, that's for sure.
Thanks, Danny. Told you, he's got stories. He's got more stories. He'll be back. Oh, I looked it up. 1995, Pope John Paul II, he was in Baltimore making all the rounds, making all these stops. He was going to a seminary, and there was and he was just supposed to shake hands outside or something. He decided he wanted to go in the chapel. Well, they had to bring out the dogs, these dogs that can sniff out people, and I guess they went into the seminary, and they had to go running around all the different rooms and buildings and down aisles and everything, and there, everything was fine. And then they made their way to the small chapel, the small side chapel where the Pope ultimately was going to pray. And they went up to the tabernacle, and that's when they started signaling they had found someone. So somebody was in there, So, and they wouldn't leave. They wouldn't leave until the handlers, called them off. So, true story. It was a true story. And as far as these angel stories, great stories, wonderful stories. I mean, really, finding the baby the way he did. The firefighter who fell 30 feet onto a bed. I mean, they just go on and on and on. And of course, this is all scriptural as well. I mean, we look into the Bible and over 250 mentions of angels doing things in the Bible, and you have Matthew 18 where Jesus, holding one of the children saying, talking about the angels in heaven, the children's angels in heaven. And we're all children with our angels. We never lose our guardian angels. As they say yes to the Lord and work with us to be servants, to be fellow servants. Very cool stories. Speaking of saying yes to the Lord, watch this segue. I am a trained professional. When it comes to saying yes, the big yes that started this Christianity thing, that would be Mary, and that big yes to the angel Gabriel. See, angel. So angels are always in there. The CD, Mary, His Messenger, is available here at episode 110, touchedbyheaven.net, or at trapperjackspeaks.com. In fact, I was giving a Mary talk, and a gentleman in the audience said, is there one episode that has all this Mary stuff? And I go, no, they're scattered all over the place. So good idea. Maybe we put these things all in one place. In fact, there's no one talk I've ever given about Mary where all these stories are there. So check it out at either here, episode 110, touchedbyheaven.net, or at trapperjackspeaks.com. Mary, His Messenger. My Patreon shout-out this week would belong to Betsy Spacetta. Thank you so much for your monthly help, Betsy. Appreciate it. All right. I need your story. You're still sitting on it. Nothing to be afraid of. If you haven't fallen asleep yet, if you're listening to this, nothing to be afraid of. Contact me at touchedbyheaven.net. Are you snoring? Is that you I hear snoring? Anyway, come here to touchedbyheaven.net. Leave me your story. Okay. I'll see you next week here at Touched by Heaven. Everyday encounters with God. Thanks for listening. I'm Trapper Jack.